And welcome back, guys, to another episode of DWMOD. I'm your host, Mikey Wilson. As always, it's Disagree With Me or Don't. We've got some stuff popping off in the Super Bowl bye week. NBA, I'm looking at you. We've got some stuff to talk about today before we get into the Super Bowl next week. So listen, man, you guys know that the show on YouTube has moved over. It is brought to you by our guys over there at the Kuttin Loose Network.
We cutting loose.
That's right. Make sure to check us out over there on YouTube. Always check us out where you're listening to the audio podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you're checking it out. We are available there. Louis, let's get this thing going, man.
Touchdown. Ready?
College football is now B1G versus SEC.
Down. Put.
If you ain't listening to All Right Bet with me and Andy St. Clair, you're throwing away money.
Ready?
All Lions fans drinking that Kool-Aid. Super Bowl. Hey, disagree with me or don't. That's how it works. Yes, that's how it works, guys. We are back now. Like I said before, the Big Six Picks is going to have its final weekend. We're in the Super Bowl bye week right now. So those guys will be back next week. Of course, Andy St. Clair, our guest pickers for the NFL playoffs this year and the Big Six Picks playoff pick'em challenge. Anthony Finelli will be back with us. Jerron Horton will be back with us. We'll see who comes in dead last, if it'll be me or Jerron. I'm not used to being in this position, and neither is he. And neither one of us are having fun with this. But it looks like Andy St. Clair may run away with this thing. We'll have those final numbers for you, the teaser right there. We'll have those final numbers for you coming in next week when those guys come back and we do everything Super Bowl. So we're going to avoid anything Super Bowl in this little bye-week filler episode for you here, DWMOD. Now, before we get to quick hits, we know that Luka Doncic was traded to the Lakers for AD. We're going to get to that, guys, but there is nowhere else to put that than knock it off. This thing is crazy. This whole thing has jumped the shark. It's gotten ridiculous. Going to give you my take on that whole thing coming up around the corner. But before we get there, we know we got to get to our sponsor this week, Black Hawk Coffee. They're bringing you what just happened with your favorite minor league baseball Hall of Fame announcer, Gordon Butterfield, on the call. It's Quick Hits, brought to you by What Just Happened.
What just happened?
What just happened is brought to you by Black Hawk Coffee. Start your day off with Black Hawk Coffee and you'll be flying high and landing right on time. That's Black Hawk Coffee, a Colombian bean company. Janet Lipnicki with a fresh cup of Black Hawk Coffee, looking to take on a washed-out beef patch. A ginger 1-2 and she's in the clear. Oh, sniper! Oh, what just happened? Looks like we've got action from the 6-story window of the book depository as Janet takes that second step. Oh, bang! Down she goes. Let's take one more look. And here we see she goes wrong right there. She's simply uncoordinated and bang! Her face in the sand quicker than an ostrich. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Somebody put some chalk around that coffee. Black Hawk down.
Oh, what just happened?
Oh, man, poor Janet with a face full of wet sand right there, man. Oh, poor lady probably got injured on that thing, but we're all having a laugh. Man, anyway, let's get to it. Quick hits. All right, guys. We know Lamar Jackson knocked out of the playoffs, but MVP candidate. Josh Allen also MVP candidate. And here comes the talking points again, the talking heads on the monopoly of sports media. So there's only one opinion to ever be considered, and it comes from it. Not the game we play here, man. We give you a different opinion. We'll give you a different look at it. But here's a little graphic I'd like to share with you. When you look at these two guys, and everybody wants to say, they're failing. They're not getting over it. Let's not forget Patrick Mahomes is in the picture here. Okay. And we will be talking about him later on as well. But Patrick Mahomes is in the picture here. Look at this guy's probably going to go down as the greatest quarterback in the history of football. And he's been stopping these guys. But let's check this right here. MJ didn't win a ring until 7th year guy, right? Jokic is 8th year. LeBron is 9th year. Peyton Manning didn't win until his 9th year. Listen, these guys are in their 6th or 7th year. let's just relax, man. Let's not be writing him off as can't get it done. Everybody remember that was the narrative on Peyton Manning for the first 7 years of his career. Can't get it done, can't beat Brady. Let's just relax on these two guys and see what happens here. You know what I mean? There's a lot of football to be left to be played among these guys. They're young fellas. They're going to keep coming. Josh Allen, every time he has played Mahomes, has played well. This last week, I saw a stat somewhere that in the history of like the AFC championship games, only 2 teams ever have lost after scoring more than 4 touchdowns and not turning the ball over once. That's Josh Allen. I mean, that's a great game. The kid had a great game. Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid just managed the game better, and they ended up winning the game. Yeah, he got the ball back with 3 minutes left. Didn't get it done. Okay. I'm not going to knock him, and I'm not going to knock Lamar Jackson for not being able to win this thing yet. But let's talk a little bit about the MVP. We are going to hear that Lamar Jackson should be the front runner, should win this thing hands down. And I just don't know that I agree with that. I just think that Josh Allen did a lot more this year with a lot less. You know, I think Lamar Jackson, he's got a lot, like people have said, he's got a lot of all pros around him. And this is a guy, I know they're not supposed to take the playoffs into consideration, but Lamar Jackson is more of a player to me that has been a letdown in the playoffs. I don't think Josh Allen has been a letdown in the playoffs. This guy's had some magnificent games, has played well, and has just gotten beat by Mahomes. And that's it. I mean, Lamar has had some big letdowns this year against, and when they get knocked out of the playoffs, turnovers early in the game. That's been something that's killed him. And when I've said it a million times on the show, guys, the Ravens style of offense, if you can get out in front of them and they're forced to play from behind, everything they do runs the clock. They're up against it. And he's just not a Mahomes or a Josh Allen move the ball down the field through the air and manage the clock type of guy. It's not a knock on him. He's extremely electric. He's one of the most fascinating players in the NFL to watch. There's no doubt about that. But there's no doubt about it that the criticism on him in the playoffs is a little more warranted than it is on Josh Allen right now. But they're both good players, man. They're both young. They're both going to still be coming at it. They both have good teams, good franchises right now. Let's not count these guys out just yet. We do have actual footage here, guys, of Josh Allen trying to put his hands on that MVP trophy. Here it is. Yeah, there it is. Oh, you got it. Yeah, it's right there. Oh, one more shot at it, Josh. Get it right there. Nope, not going to get it. And Lamar is going to win it again. Let's talk a little baseball really quick, guys. Let's talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame Contemporary Committee just announced their list for next year. Now, these are guys that have been retired 15 to 20 years that can get another shot at consideration after being knocked off the ballot. Now, I've got a copy of that ballot right here. Here's who those guys are. Let's take a look. Okay, Albert Bell, bubble guy. He dominated for a number of years. His numbers are crazy within those years. He's a guy that maybe can be talked about. Barry Bonds, Clemens, we're going to just not talk about that. Delgado, and leave that alone. Dwight Evans, absolute Hall of Famer. His numbers are there. This guy's numbers are better than a lot of guys who are already in the Hall of Fame. His own teammate, Jim Rice, this guy's numbers are better. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Keith Hernandez, I don't know. Good defensive player. We'll see. Jeff Kent, the only reason that Jeff Kent is not in the Hall of Fame right now already, guys, is because what we've talked about on the show so many times. Baseball Writers of America and people with votes are a bunch of dickhead baby, crybaby. They're just a bunch of gatekeeping dickheads. They don't like Jeff Kent because he told the media to piss off. Yeah, he's not a guy that was liked in the locker room well by his own teammates. The guy's an asshole, okay? More home runs than any second baseman in the history of baseball. More RBIs than anyone in the history of baseball. Won as a second baseman. Won an MVP. Went to the World Series. This guy's a no-brainer Hall of Famer. Just stop it with the grudge. Let's take a look at the rest of the list here. Kenny Lofton, bubble guy. Mattingly, bubble guy. Injuries got him. Dale Murphy is beyond a bubble guy. This guy dominated for more than 10 years. 3 MVPs. He was the best player in the game in the outfield for almost a decade, man. This guy is a guy that probably should go in at a Veterans Committee. Curt Schilling is a hands-down Hall of Famer. Just look at his postseason. Look at his regular season numbers. Then look what he did in the postseason. You're not putting him in because of his personal off-the-field stuff, too, which is garbage. Gary Sheffield, 500 home runs. This is not a guy that was tainted by steroids. They try to float that story all the time, and we talk about it on here all the time. His name showed up on a mailing list one time from Balco or something through Barry Bonds. This guy had nothing to do with steroids. This guy had proved he wasn't on steroids. No positive test from this guy ever. They never nailed him on anything the way they did everybody else. They just don't like him, so they love that story to try to stick to him. It's bullshit. The guy hit 500 home runs. He should be in the Hall of Fame. But again, a guy who butted heads with the media, so you're going to make him pay the price because you're the gatekeepers with your little pencils and your little pads of paper. You ain't shit. You didn't play ball. He belongs in a Hall of Fame. And one more look at this list here, guys. Yeah, Lou Whitaker. Lou Whitaker. If they don't put Lou Whitaker in this time, this is one of the biggest travesties in the history of the Hall of Fame. And it is. And I'm not being a homer, and I'm not going to beat this thing to death. You've heard me talk about this for years on this show. All I'm going to tell you is go look at the numbers. Joe Morgan, first ballot Hall of Famer, the pedestal for second baseman in the Hall of Fame. Go look at Joe Morgan's numbers, and then look at Lou Whitaker's right next to him. They are identical. They are exactly the same. And this guy is not in the Hall of Fame for some of the same reasons that those other guys aren't. The Baseball Writers of America didn't like him because he's Jehovah's Witness and because of his religion. He didn't stand for the national anthem. It had nothing to do with patriotism or hating America. That's a part of their religion. They don't show any kind of worship or celebration to anything other than God and Jesus and however that works within their religion. But that's across the board. So he didn't stand for the national anthem. They don't celebrate birthdays. There's all kinds of things they don't do. That's his right as an American to belong to that religion. Well, we hope we still hold those rights in a few years. But anyway, I digress. Those guys didn't like him because he didn't go out for the national anthem, and they buried him for that his whole career. And I'm not saying anything, and for lack of a better term, I'll say in fairness, but it ain't in fairness at all. But at the time he was playing, a lot of these baseball writers had been through World War II, Korean War, veterans, or lost a lot of their families and loved ones to those wars. And they took it personal that he didn't do that. And it had nothing to do with it. But anyway, Lou Whitaker's numbers, not to mention part of the greatest double play tandem in the history of Major League Baseball. And that record's never going to be broken. Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker turned more double plays as a tandem than anybody in the history of baseball. They were both fantastic defensive players. Alan Trammell is in the Hall of Fame. It's time to put Lou Whitaker in the Hall of Fame too, guys. Come on. All right, guys. Let me pitch you something really quickly right here over on the Cut and Loose Network on YouTube. We got a new show coming on over there. Me and my main man, Sir Jeffrey, we're heading around Atlanta and anywhere else that we are invited or feel like we want to get going to. We're going out to check out some food spots, doing a little food preview show. It's called It Better Be Good. And when we show up, it better be good. That's the thing. So here's a little promo, and you can chew on that. This thing is coming this week to the Cut and Loose Network on YouTube.
We cutting loose.
To sit there and make over 3,000 steaks, either you crazy, you committed, or you from Philly. And I'm from Philly. Right. All right,
I love it.
I'm from Philly.
We're here at the best Philly spot in the South. I mean, all the South. We're right outside Atlanta in Hiram, Georgia. We're going to go on into the Philly spot and check out my man Dennis. This is the first episode of This Better Be Good. So chew on that.
Better be good. Now, Mike says good. And we going to see. Better be
do
good.
it.
All right.
Yes. Listen.
Here we go.
All right, so we got the best cheesesteak in Georgia. Boom. Y'all might want to come get some of this. Look at that. We have our handmade egg rolls. These are my junkyard wings.
Junkyard.
When you pull a cheesesteak out, you can see through the paper.
Exactly.
You're getting the right
Yeah,
cheesesteak.
you get the right cheese.
Little crossover here.
All right.
Little crossover here.
Cool.
Let's jump on to something we do on DWMOD.
All right, talk to me.
That's our sports podcast. Disagree with me or don't.
All right,
Okay,
disagree
we're
with
doing a
me or
little
don't.
segment called Quick Hits.
Quick hits.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw something at you, and I want to get your reaction.
Quick hits,
We're
quick
doing
hits.
Quick hits, Philly style. This one, best Rocky movie.
Oh, number 4 all day long.
Let's jump through some Philly sports real quick.
All
I
day.
want you to tell me the greatest player from this team, Philadelphia Eagles.
I mean, it's hard, bro. Overall, it's going to be Reggie Brown.
I'll disagree with you on greatest Eagle, though. I'm gonna tell you who the greatest Eagle is. He's a rookie on the team this year. Johnny Wilson, number 89. Played with my son at the school that I coached at. Shout out to my Calabasas High School football Coyotes.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Safe House. Go get him this week,
Shout out to
Johnny.
y'all. Shout out to y'all.
We cutting loose.
Hey, there it is. Just a little sneak peek there, guys. That is going to be a lot of fun. This episode is great. Dennis Laws from the Philly Spot in Hiram, Georgia. Man, great dude. Right from Philly, the real deal, man. We're chopping it up. We're talking sports. We're talking food. And he fed us like kings. You got to check that thing out. Head on over there. And let's get into some Knock It Off. This week, Knock It Off is brought to you by the official beer choice of the DWMOD podcast, and that's Brass Monkeys with Old English 800.
Brass monkey, that monkey. Brass monkey, chunky.
Yes, get yourself a Brass Monkey, guys. Super Bowl is around the corner. I want you guys to promise me that for your Super Bowl pregame, tailgate, whatever you're doing before you lead up to the game starting and having that food, I want you guys to promise me you're going to go out there and get yourself a couple of cans or a 40 ounce of some Old English. Mix it with a little bit of orange juice. Have yourself a Brass Monkey. That's the way to jumpstart watching the game this weekend. And hit it, man. The official beer choice, the DWMOD podcast, Old English 800. Now let's get to some Knock It Offs.
All right, everyone. Time to do me a favor and knock it off.
Okay, guys. Let's talk a little bit about the nonsense that is hammered down to us from the monopoly media of sports, ESPN, the constant debate that is sparked over channel of radio and television constantly. Is it the player or the coach? We've had to listen to it for so long about Brady and Belichick. Oh, and when Brady left the team, he won a Super Bowl with another team, and Belichick didn't, and the Patriots fell off, which happens every time a team has a dynasty for so long. Stop. Knock it off. It is time to stop. The real answer here is sometimes the stars align and the two of them are great because they landed with each other. And that's just how it happens, guys. You have to have that luck, that lightning strike, And again, we're hearing it again right now with Patrick Mahomes. The constant talk that Reed wouldn't be Reed without Mahomes, and Mahomes wouldn't be hit. Oh, it's Andy Reid, it's Mahomes. Guys, it's the marriage of the two of them. It's the fact that Mahomes landed in Kansas City with Andy Reid as to why he is so good. You've seen a million guys with talent get drafted into the wrong spots. I mean, Mahomes goes to Cleveland. He may not even be in the league right now. Yeah, that's a fact. Roll your eyes if you want to. That's a fact. He could have wound up somewhere. I mean, come on. But we always want to be like, well, who is it? Who is it? And why do they do that? Do they believe that that's a legitimate argument to have? No, because it's a space filler. And it's an endless circle that you'll never really get a real answer on. So they can just fill space on the airwaves talking about bullshit and garbage that doesn't matter. It's lazy and it's ignorant. It's an ignorant debate. It's the two of them together that are great. And let me give you, I wanted to play a video here for you right here, but you can't. You can't play a video from the mothership over there at ESPN at all, even for a little show like this, to show a little snippet of something they're saying. We can't do it. It gets shut down. We'll get shut down. They won't put our stuff out. That's just how it is. But it doesn't matter. I can tell you exactly what was said. They were debating on First Take, Stephen A., Shannon Sharp, I think Dan Orlovsky was on for this episode, and they're debating Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and who it is and who's better. And these guys are saying Andy Reid's phenomenal coach. Andy Reid is a big part of what's going on, and he is. He's phenomenal coach. Patrick Mahomes would not be who he is without Andy Reid. He wouldn't. And Patrick Mahomes would tell you that, but it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't listen. You'd listen to First Take yelling at you. Anyway, my point is, Shannon Sharp then went on to say, it's Mahomes, it's not Andy Reid. Y'all are giving Andy Reid too much credit. They went to 7 straight AFC championship games with Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid wasn't doing that till Patrick Mahomes got there. Full stop. Full stop. Andy Reid wasn't doing that till Patrick Mahomes got there. Andy Reid went to 6 NFC championship games in Philadelphia with Donovan McNabb. Andy Reid's been done this before with less talent. So you see what I mean? When you start a stupid cyclical argument like that there's no real answer to, you're going to eventually get people who are supposed to take one side. That's how the producers handle it before the show. Hey, you're on this side, you're on that side. Argue about it. Because that's what we watch nowadays. Because these shows, they'll tell you, oh, the ratings are so great. This is what people want to see. First of all, it's all we get to see. There's a monopoly on sports. Media, coverage, monopoly. It's monopolized by ESPN. They have the rights to all the sports. Their morning shows. Where else do you find a morning sports show? On TV. Fox Sports? Oh, okay. But there's certain things they can't show clips and have and do and all that because they don't have the rights to all these other games. They don't have Fox Sports 8th channel where they're showing all kinds. They don't have it. It's a monopoly. So, yeah, Stephen A's ratings on First Take are best in the business because they're the only thing in the business. It's just a fact. That's a fact. And these shows, they're laid out with a skeleton of reality TV like housewives shows because that's what grabs morons' attention. Let's have 2 people arguing. I mean, the only thing we don't get on First Take is a face full of wine. It's the only thing we don't get on First Take is a face full of wine. Now, granted, sometimes there's some legitimate conversations on there, but they'll get derailed quickly into forcing one person to argue with the other, and it just turns into shouting and screaming. I'm waiting for the wine in somebody's face because this is the model of television that sells nowadays in America. Moronic, arguing, and stupidity. And these shows are just flat out based in that. That's what they are. That's what they do. Get Up, not as bad. I can watch Get Up. You can see some things on Get Up. But you can see even on Get Up that guys like Ryan Clark and Jeff Saturday and Dan Orlovsky, these guys are even handcuffed on that show as to how far they're allowed to dive into intelligent things like the X's and the O's and trying to break down, like, for instance, the Super Bowl's around the corner. And they'll be trying to, instead of breaking down how they think Fangio is going to attack Patrick Mahomes, he's the defensive coordinator for the Eagles. Instead of trying to break that down and say, here's what we think he'll do, which I would love to hear those guys do because they know. I would love to have them lay it out and say, look for this, look for that. Look, I would love that. But no, all we're going to hear about is he's lost to him 8 times. So Mahomes can't beat Fangio. He doesn't beat Fangio. And every time he plays Fangio, Mahomes wins. So Mahomes got his number and he can't. That's what we're listening to, guys. Because he's 0-8 against Fangio when 4 of those games were against Denver when they sucked, and the other 2, like 2 of them, more of them were 6 of them, like 6 of them were against Denver when they sucked, and the other 2 were when he's with Miami and they weren't good either. That doesn't mean anything, but they just cherry pick these little stats and facts to give you to have a mundane argument that they think in the production room this is what they can digest. They're insulting us. Like we can't digest a deeper sports talk or some better sports talk because, and I don't even want to really blame the producer so much in the room. Like it's just the way the business is now. It's not as if they're walking in the room with a diabolical, evil plan to lie to us and keep us from learning anything and don't give us any real talk. That's not it. But they just go in there to control the narrative. Like they're just in that mindset. Every day they walk into that room, it's how can we say what we want to say and control how it's said to benefit us and the shareholders. So you're just not getting anything real anymore. And we are going to see how that has big time affected the message that you're getting from the NBA right now.
All right, everyone, time to do me a favor and knock it off.
Before we fully dive into the NBA and this big trade right here, I got to show you some of my favorite internet videos right now. These are some of my favorite videos that are rolling around the internets. Here we go. It's people sitting courtside in thousands of dollars seats. These seats are thousands of dollars. And it's people sitting courtside that can't get off their phone and get drilled. Here we go. There we go. Look at this one. The ball is in your end. The ball is in your end. Boom! Right off her face. Just destroys her face as the two of them can't quit looking at their cell phone. You paid $5,000 to sit here. Here's one Kyrie cross court. Pow! Oh, man. Look at this one here. Slow motion. Here it comes. Boom! They can't get off their phone. Those seats are so expensive. Here comes Dad to give him a little kiss and make him feel better here too, buddy. Oh, you okay? Little kiss on the head there. Hey, listen, that guy might be the best dad in the world. I'm not trying to disrespect him a bit. He bought his kid a $10,000 seat to sit courtside at the game. Probably a good dad. Kissed him to make sure he felt better. Probably a good dad. Be a better sports dad and tell him, put the phone down. These seats were $10,000. Oh, and they're not down at the other end right now, guys. They're playing right here, right in front of us. I mean, those are my favorite. Those are my favorite. I hope they get their faces destroyed every single time.
All right, everyone. Time to do me a favor and knock it off.
Okay, guys. This brings us to our main topic. Luka Doncic traded from the Mavs to the Lakers for AD, and I think they got they got Christie. The Mavs got this guard Christie out of Michigan State. He's 21 years old. He averages about 10 a game. Okay, all right. He's a decent little player to throw in there, and they get a 2029 first round pick. That's nothing. That's nothing. That's garbage. They'll probably turn around and trade somewhere else. So this is a straight up trade. Luka Doncic for AD. None of this makes any sense to me at all. And the media, sports media, and I've already drilled this home during this whole episode. This is coming from one place. It's coming from one place, and they are controlling the narrative on this thing. And quite frankly, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, the narrative they're trying to control on this thing. Now, Luka Doncic, 25 years old. 5 times he's been first team All NBA. He's only 25. He's only 25. This guy's career numbers, he's averaging damn near 30 a game, like 29 points a game, 9 rebounds and 8 assists a game. This guy just took you to the NBA Finals last year, okay? Took the mat, finally get to the NBA Finals at 25. He got to the NBA Finals, and yeah, they got beat. They didn't win it. Boston beat them. That's fine. He's 25. You traded him for a 32-year-old guy that can't stay on the court. I mean, AD's out with an abdominal injury right now. Yes, I know Luka's out. I know Luka's only played like 22, 23 games this year because he's been injured. We're going to get to that. Adrian Dantley. You know that's not what I meant to say. Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, he never plays. This guy's always here. His nickname is Street Clothes. This guy's hurt all the time. Now, he's having a good season this year until he just got hurt. But he's 32 years old. And you traded for him to put him with a 32-year-old Kyrie Irving. And this is all being sold to us from the media mothership that this is the Mavs proving that they're trying to win now. This is them proving that they're trying to win now and build for the future. You can save me that. You got one of the biggest stars on the planet. He's only 25 years old and just took you to the finals. And you're going to try to spoon feed me media dribble that this is about them trying to win now. And then you're going to furthermore serve me this narrative that the front office got together and said, well, Luka's too heavy and he just doesn't come in shape. And that's a problem for us. That's a problem for us. He's not committed, and we're going to blow him out the door because he's just not committed. The 25-year-old kid who is a 5-time first-team All-NBA player scores 30 a game, 39 and 8 is his averages across the board there. Just got you to the finals. And you're trying to sell me a storyline that he's not committed, he's overweight, he doesn't care about basketball, so we had to move him. We just had to. No. I know exactly what that is. And that's the message from all of you right now in the media is that same message. And I know exactly what's going on with that. And I got news for you, Mavericks fans. I'm going to let you in on a little secret here and tell you exactly what's going on, because we went through it here in Detroit. We went through this same thing in Detroit, okay? Luka Doncic, we all know that he was due a max deal next year that was going to pay him roughly $70 million a year. It was going to be upwards of 350 million plus for 5 years. They were due to pay him that max deal. They didn't want to pay him the money. They didn't want to pay him the money, man. And why would they not want to pay a player like that the money? That's the question, and that's what I'm going to tell you. We've been through this in Detroit. We went through this in Detroit. Like around 2014, yes, when the Lions were good. Yes, when we were going to make a Super Bowl run that year. We got hosed down in that Dallas game. You go ahead and go back and look at it. That Lions team, number 1 in the history of the league, number 2 in the history of the league, I believe, against the rush. We dominated people defensively. Stafford, Megatron, we were rolling. Okay, that team had Super Bowl aspirations. It got knocked out of the playoffs. And when they got knocked out of the playoffs, there was a guy on that team that was due a bunch of money, who was one of the best players in the league, the best player in the league at his position. And the Lions front office, this is the old Lions front office, collectively got together and sat down and looked at it on paper and decided that was our window, that was our shot. Looked at the other teams in the NFC at the time, looked at the other teams in the AFC, looked at the reality of trying to win a Super Bowl, and decided we're not going to win that Super Bowl. Keep the other stars around, blow this guy out of town. But we have to make the fans dislike this guy through the media first, so they don't blame us and get mad at us and get mad at the team. And they leaked all kinds of disparaging stories and changed the narrative all around the city of Detroit against Ndamukong Suh. Yeah, they did. They most certainly did. Everything that came out in the papers painted him in a bad light, made him to be the bad guy. Then they started piling on with this dirty player. He's a dirty player. You tell me, Detroit. Look over my shoulder here. You tell me the last time a guy that's aggressive, competitive, and plays hard, and may take it a little too far sometimes, was disliked in Detroit for that reason. You give me an example of another player in the history of Detroit sports that people went, we don't like him. He's too rough. He's too dirty. He tried to step on Aaron Rodgers. He did it on purpose. Give me another player. You can't. You can't. The Red Wings, we had Probert, we had Kosher, we loved the Bruise brothers, the fighting. Konstantinov was one of the greatest defensemen in the history of hockey till he got injured, won the cup with us, and then he got injured in a car accident, didn't play anymore. You remember Konstantinov? He was rated by the players in the league as the dirtiest player in the league. We loved him. We loved him. Lambier, Mahorn, the bad boys, we loved them. A player like Brandon Inge could hang around on the Tigers and barely hit his own weight because he'd hit 25 home runs. Some of them would be timely, and he'd put his shoulder out of socket diving for balls over at third base. People loved him. Gritty. Lions right now. Grit. And Ndamukong Suh was all of that, was the heart of that defense. They blew him out of town because they didn't want to pay him, and they turned him into the villain so the fans wouldn't be upset. And that's what's happening to you right now, Dallas Maverick fans. That's exactly what's happening to you. They are selling you this idea that we couldn't do it with Luka because he's not committed. Okay. Is he as committed as LeBron to his body? No. I'm not sitting here trying to make the argument that he's as committed as a lot of other superstars in the league to his body and millions of dollars and being in shape. I'm not sitting here trying to say that. I am saying he's a great player, whether he is or not. And for you to come to me and say, now this guy's 15 pounds overweight and we just don't think he's in very good shape and we won't tolerate that. Stop. That is not the reason you traded away a generational talent. It is not the reason you traded away Luka Doncic. You traded him away because you got new ownership. I got news for you, Mavs fans. You got new ownership down there in Dallas, and it ain't Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban loved the team. Mark Cuban loved winning. He'd spend money, and he loved the fans. And you got business people in charge now. And business people in Dallas in the front office for the Mavericks sat down and said, We don't want to shell out this dough. We're looking at the Western Conference right now. We ain't getting past teams like OKC in the near future, probably. We're not going to beat this team and the Nuggets. We're not going to beat these teams. If we do and get lucky and get to the finals again, not really a big chance we're going to win it. So they sit down collectively money-wise and go, if we got a decent enough team, we'll get a home series in the first round, win a few games, and then we'll play again in the second round, win a few games. Maybe we mess around and win the second round, then we'll get to the third round. But that's about the best we're going to do. So let's do that as cheap as we can, because it's about money now. You're not selling me on this idea that a guy's 15 pounds overweight, so you're blowing a generational talent out the door. You're trying to demonize him in the media, to sell this to the fans to swallow, to get them to turn on him and be like, yeah, well, Luka just didn't. I mean, he just wasn't serious about basketball. Oh, yeah. He's 25. He's five-time first all NBA. 29, 8-8, 29, 9-8, whatever in his career. This took you to the finals. Yeah, this guy's not serious about basketball. This is about money, and you got a new owner down there. And they're pitching you this crap, too, about how this is great for the Mavs. This is the Mavs proving that they want to win now. Hold on a minute. You just went to the finals last year when you made an ignorant mistake. Like, you built this team. You're the one building this team around Luka Doncic, and you brought in Kyrie Irving. Now, look, off the court stuff aside, the guy turned that around, and he seems to be doing well on that. Kyrie's a great player. But like I said when they first made this deal, this thing ain't going to work, and it ain't going to last. Because last time I checked during a basketball game, they only play with one basketball. And that's two guys on one team that need the basketball. It ain't going to work. They both need the ball to generate their offense. That ain't going to work. Okay. And it didn't. When it got to the finals, that thing imploded, and it didn't. And that's fine. But you're the one that built this team. And now you're saying, no, we need to bring in this guy, and we got a big, and AD wants to play the 4 instead of the 5. What? Please. It's standing around a bomb threes in the NBA right now. Just stop with all those narratives to me. Stop with all those narratives. This is them trying to win now. You traded a 25-year-old kid who's one of the biggest stars and best players in the world for a guy that can't stay healthy, who's 32, to put him with another 32-year-old. And then what? You're going to go to the draft or free agency and grab another 30-year-old? And you think you're going to go beat OKC or Denver next year? I got news for you, Mavericks fans. That ain't what's happening. That ain't what. This is dumbing down salary. That's what's going on. We don't want to pay that guy. We don't want to pay him that money, because you know why? Because if we do pay him that money and he stays here, we're still probably not going to be good enough to win the title. So why pay that money? That's their mindset. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about Luka. They care about the bottom line. So why do it? If we can win first round, second round with Kyrie and AD and spend a little less money, then let's do that. That's what they're doing. It's ridiculous. And this whole narrative about, well, Luka, he's a defensive liability. He always has been. You're hearing that talking point all over the place. 80% of the league's a defensive liability. Save that talking point too. I mean, we now play in a day and age where nobody plays defense and offense rules the game. Is he one of the best defenders in the league? Nope. Did we see him play a lot better defense last year? Oh, yeah. When they're making their run to the finals, that's all we heard. Oh, Luka looks great. He's no longer a liability. Now, all of a sudden, he's injured this year, and he's 15 pounds overweight, and he's a defensive liability. This is all garbage, Mavs fans, to try to get you to swallow this thing, because they didn't want to pay him, and they didn't want to keep him there. And that's the bottom line. This is an offensive league now, man. Give me that defensive stuff. This isn't about anybody playing defense. The over-under on any game when two garbage teams are playing each other now is 225 points. I mean, tell me the last time that a major team played another major team, good competitive team, and only one team made it to 100 points. Please. That ain't happening anymore. And you can save me the rest of these narratives too about the Lakers in the league. How many times are we going to be told, LeBron James didn't know anything about this? LeBron James had no idea. If you think LeBron James had no idea this was happening, you're a fool. You are a fool if you think he didn't know this was happening. Rob Pelinka doesn't even try to make that trade without talking to LeBron James first. Please. Please, that's the most ridiculous thing that I've heard of all the talking points. Probably the most ridiculous thing that I've heard. LeBron James didn't know anything about this. Now, listen, if you're the Mavs and you want to trade Luka and you don't want to pay him that contract, I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm not sitting here saying you have to do that. But go get something. Go get something for him. This is terrible. This is a terrible move. Go get something for him. You got AD and a used ball bag and a 2029 first round. I mean, I'm having trouble putting into words how bad this trade is. Now you're going to see the Mavericks probably on a little uptrend here with some new blood. Luka's still out. They're in 9th place right now, I think. You're going to see them jump to 7th, 8th, and you're going to be like, oh, see, good deal, good deal. They've been playing most of the games without Luka this year. He's been out. He's been hurt. Yeah, okay, he's been hurt because he's out of shape, Mike. He's hurt because – fine. Spin whatever narrative you want to spin on it, man. Guys get injuries. Guys are hurt. Some of his may be because he is not taking care of himself the way a lot of other players are. That's not the reason you're blowing him out. I got news for you, Mavs fans. You're heading down a road of rebuild. AD ain't going to be around much longer. Kyrie's going to be gone. You're going to get out of the first round. If you even get in the playoffs this year, you're going to maybe get out of the first round. Next year is going to be more of the same, and they're trying to sell it to you as this is a win-now scenario. It's not. And if you don't think the NBA's got their fingerprints all over this thing as well, I mean, please. They operate in this. The NBA and every other league still too operates in this bubble where they think it's still the 1950s or 60s globally. They try to act like they know everything's global and expansion and all that, but they still operate into this mindset that like, if you're going to be a big brand, you better be in LA or New York or Chicago or this. The world is smaller now, man. That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. If LeBron James was still in Cleveland, he wouldn't be just as big a fan and a movie star and as big a player and a superstar as he is if he was still in Cleveland. That's ridiculous. This is stupid, but they still operate that way. And they want these big stars on these big teams. And this right here, this trade right here, to me, is no different than the 2007 trade when Danny Ainge, who longtime Celtics ties, gets together. He's a GM for Minnesota Timberwolves. He gets together and deals with Kevin McHale back with the Boston Celtics, and they send him Kevin Garnett, literally send him Kevin Garnett for a used bag of basketballs, a couple jock straps, and I think some old tennis shoes. That's what they got out of that deal. And the league approves it. They said because the Celtics weren't getting it done back then, they weren't relevant. Then Garnett goes there, and now we've got Lakers-Celtics finals. And if you don't think that the Lakers organization and the NBA are sitting there going, LeBron was getting talked about being moved out of LA at the deadline. That's been talked about. Not that it was going to happen, but talked about. And that's this year. LeBron may be gone next year, or at least the year after, at the very least. What are we going to do? LA's not going to have a superstar. We better get a superstar out to LA. And I'm not saying this is a conspiracy that the NBA pushed this trade, but this is something they loved. They weren't frowning upon it. I guarantee they were greasing the wheels on this damn thing. They want to get a superstar out to LA, and that Luka's not getting that money now. But listen, the NBA fingerprints are all over this thing. This is good for them. This is great for the game, they think, because they operate in this old world, in a place where like the Detroit Pistons can be the worst team in the league for 5 straight years. We're going to get the number 1 pick once. And a guy like Wembanyama is going to be coming into the league, and we're the worst damn team in the league, and we wind up picking 5th or 6th. And the San Antonio Spurs with Pop end up getting the lottery ball out of the 9th position and wind up scoring Wembanyama. Come on. Quit acting like we don't know what's going on. If any sport, I'm tired of hearing everybody talk about how the NFL is rigged and scripted and rigged and scripted and rigged. And then you want to turn a blind eye to stuff like this. You want to turn a blind eye to the NBA lottery. You want to turn a blind eye to the NBA when stories have been proven about how rigged and fixed shit is in the NBA sometimes. I mean, they nail referees for shaving points. There's been so much backdoor stuff we know about the NBA. They're desperate to have these big stars on these big teams because you know what? What's going to happen when Luka gets with LeBron in LA? What's going to happen to these games the second half of the season here? The ratings are going to go through the roof. The ratings are going to go through the roof for the NBA anyway. And they need it. And they need that badly because we've talked about this a bunch on this show as well. The NBA is in trouble. None of you think it is because you all think, no, I love NBA and I love watching it. And the game has been better than ever with the shooting and those things are all true. It's been fun to watch for the most part for people that like that kind of style of basketball. Here's the bottom line. The ratings are down and they're down huge. People aren't watching. We have talked about this a ton and everybody just keeps coming back with the answer of doesn't matter. The league is printing money because they're selling rights to multiple streaming services now. It's not just a deal with NBC and ESPN anymore. Now they're going to show Christmas games on Amazon, or they're going to show, the first round of the playoffs will be on TNT. And then another round of the playoffs is going to be over on Netflix. And they're generating all this extra huge income from all these places to get the streaming rights, to get the rights to show the game. Yeah, they are. They're getting those things. Yep. And the ratings on those things have been terrible. They've been bad. And the assumption moving forward is that those deals are going to keep going up and up and up, and the price on those is going to go up and up, and that's going to, excuse me, and that's going to cover the cost of all these now $70 million a year salaries and stuff. It's not sustainable, guys. It's not sustainable. We pointed out the story on here, I think 2 or 3 years ago, where television stations or networks that were paying to have the rights to televise the game were coming back to the NBA to try to recoup some money because their sponsors were trying to recoup the money from them. The sponsors got to a point with the NBA that they were telling, let's just say TNT. I'm not saying that's the network that it was because it was more than one. Let's just say it's TNT. And then and the sponsors were coming back to TNT and saying, hey, you sold us ad spots for an NBA game this weekend that was based on 6.8 to 7.8 million viewers. It wound up being 2.1. Less than a third of the people you promised us would have eyeballs on this ad had eyeballs on this ad. Then they started forcing the NBA to put the ads in escrow, to put the money in escrow. And when the ratings came back, they would pay accordingly to how many people watched. Have you ever heard of that in professional sports? And you want to sell me on the idea that, they're going to keep printing money and making more money because there's more streaming deals and there's more. No one's watching. The ratings are bad. And one of your biggest rating days of the year used to be Christmas Day, and the NFL's moved in. And you're screwed there too. The salaries are getting to be out of hand. They need the ratings more than anything right now. And this Luka trade, grabbing ratings. Luka with LeBron in LA, going to grab ratings. And this is the case of the NBA has been in this boat for the last bunch of years where they are they are in reaction mode. They are trying to overcorrect to try to compensate for the place they're in. They're like, for lack of a better explanation, they're kind of like Social Security right now. They borrowed against it so much that it's barely covering itself now with the money coming in. And sooner or later, they're going to have screwed it up and wasted it, and they're going to be in trouble. And the NBA is in that same spot right now. They are stealing from Peter to pay Paul right now. And the message is, but Paul's contract's going to keep going up and up and up and up and up. We'll be able to charge billions for these things in the next couple of years, these streaming rights. No, you won't, because the ratings are bad and they're getting worse. So they are praying that the ratings on this thing go through the roof with Luka playing with LeBron and trying to make a run right now as the Lakers are in the 6th spot. So Mavericks fans, that's what's happening. Don't buy into it. It's going to be all negative news and why they traded Luka because he's a bum. Oh, okay. Well, that ain't the fact. They traded him because they don't want to pay him. And if that's the facts, Mavs, then just come out and say that. We're not interested in that contract right now. We've got some aging people on the team. We don't think Luka by himself is going to carry us forward. We put ourselves in a bad spot here. We're in a rebuild, and we're not paying him during a rebuild. Just say that. Then just say that, man. That's all you got to do.
All right, everyone. Time to do me a favor and knock it off.
All right, guys. That's the last I got to say on that matter. We'll see how it goes. I'm not telling you I'm not going to watch. I'm not telling you I'm not going to see how they do and see how this thing plays out when Luka comes back. I'll be disappointed if he stays a Laker, man. I will be disappointed if he stays a Laker because I hate the Lakers, man. I mean, look, the Pistons on the wall up here, man. I'm not a big Laker fan. Not at all. We'll see how this thing plays off. Feel bad for the Mavericks fans. I know Mark Cuban is pretty upset about it. I know he's probably pretty upset about it. Expect something from him in the next week or two. He'll probably keep it a little close to the vest because he still is 48 or 49% ownership. You don't want to speak bad about the team, but sooner or later, you're going to get a couple whiskeys in him, and he's going to tell you the truth about this thing. He don't care for it. He don't like it. Anyway, we're back next week. The Big Six Picks final Super Bowl episode. The fellas will be back in the house. We'll be making our picks. We'll be covering all kind of prop bets and NFL. We'll be rocking NFL all day next week on this episode. Turn into Cutting Loose on YouTube. Check out the new show. It better be good. That's going to be dropping this week. Food review show, man. It's a lot of fun. That thing was great to do with my man, Sir Jeffrey. A lot of great comedians going to be on that thing. A lot of great food around Atlanta going to be on that show. So check us out, and we'll see you next time.
Touchdown. Ready?
College football is now B1G versus SEC.
Down. Hut.
If you ain't listening to All Right Bet with me and Andy St. Clair, you're throwing away money.
Ready?
All Lions fans drinking that Kool-Aid. Super Bowl. Hey, disagree with me or don't. That's how it works.